Hey, comic lovers, EMoney and the old man here with you. So you may notice a certain canine companion of ours is not here right now.
Because the old man is not an Eskimo.
Well, the weather has turned here in Louisville, and it's gotten to where if it's not at freezing, it's just above it. So
Too cold for me.
yeah, too cold to be filming outside. So
And
Thor,
the Dog of Thunder don't come inside.
mm-mm.
I mean, he lives inside at his house.
Right.
But he ain't coming into this house because he would go crazy.
Mm-hmm. So Thor will not be joining us this week, and maybe for the foreseeable future. I don't know. I mean, hopefully, we get some warm days at some point, but never know.
We'll see.
Louisville weather. All right, so today we have a lot of cool stuff we're talking about. Excuse me. We have our Black Panther Wakanda Forever review in just a little bit here. And took a trip out to the Cineplex and had some fun this weekend. Also, a lot of news coming out of Disney and Disney Plus and what they're going to be doing, and also what Disney, Marvel are going to be doing in the future. And also, we say goodbye to an icon of comic books. Also, we're going to be telling you about what you can expect at this week's Whatnot auction. All right, so a lot of fun stuff.
Did you say we're going to talk about comic books?
Oh yeah, comic book reviews and previews this week as well.
Jeez.
I mean that's a given. I mean people know to expect that.
Might be the first time watching.
I mean, yeah, we're gonna be talking comic books today.
That's really what we're supposed to be talking about the whole time. It didn't work that way.
All right. I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
If Thor were here right now, he'd bite you.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But this is also back issues. Alright, so before we get started today, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications, give us a thumbs up, and if you like, leave us a comment. You can let us know your thoughts about the Black Panther movie or any of the stories we're going to be talking about today, or you can just say hi. Alright, so Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So obviously, there was a lot of emotion going into this movie.
Well, yeah. First half of the movie, I, tried to keep from crying.
Mm-hmm. With the passing of Chadwick Boseman, and also, in story, the passing of King T'Challa.
Oh, okay. First off, there's going to be a crap ton of spoilers coming up.
This is a spoiler review, but so, I'm betting you knew that one.
But if you haven't seen the movie, you don't want to listen to this.
Right. All right, so what with the passing of King T'Challa and all of the remorse going on in Wakanda at the beginning of the movie, there was a lot of sad tear-jerking moments in it. So with T'Challa being gone, a lot of the both actors and characters had to step up for this film and put themselves into a starring role, especially Letitia Wright, who plays T'Challa's sister Shuri in the movie, and she had to step into the starring role. And also you had characters like Queen Ramonda and M'Baku, and also
Winston Duke is M'Baku.
Mm-hmm.
Man, they just totally upped his character, gave him a big old part in this one, and he did a good job.
And also you had Okoye, and then you had the new character, Namor, who is played by Tenoch Huerta, and sorry if I mispronounced that name.
Sure you did.
Yeah.
But at any rate, dead solid portrayal of a new character. Namor was just about perfect.
Right. I thought that, he looks a little different. Obviously, he's wearing a lot more jewelry or whatever.
He has clothes on,
right.
Kinda.
I thought you would have a problem with that, him looking a little different in the movie.
The only negative to me is the way they set up his backstory, which was a good backstory, but you don't have him in World War II. They've got it set up so on this world, on this version of Earth, there were no invaders during the war.
Right.
And I've always wanted to see an invaders movie.
Maybe you will in some multiverse story down the road. All right, so then you had that. Now, a couple of points I want to make here is, I mean, for one thing, I've always been a fan of the Dora Milaje, the Royal Guards of Wakanda.
Well, I mean, they're badass.
Right. And, that's kind of my point, is, they've been never portrayed as weak throughout the Marvel Universe. I mean, even the ones who you don't even know their names, who you might regard as typical red shirts, I mean, even if they die, they don't die, as chumps.
No, I mean, their training is probably superior to any military training in our current world.
Well, you even see it in Falcon and the Winter Soldier when John Walker takes on a, I don't know if she was an unnamed Dora Milaje, but she was definitely, down the pecking order. And, she ends up besting him. And then later on, John's like, they weren't even super soldiers. And watching that, I was like, nope, Dora Milaje are no joke. So it's always cool to see them in action. Also, Okoye obviously stepping into a bigger role here, and we see her leading the Dora Milaje earlier on in the film. And also, she had a really big fight scene, or I should say 2 big fight scenes in the movie. One around the middle, and then in the third act. And she definitely steps up, and we see the introduction of. They didn't call her Ironheart in the film.
She's Ironheart.
But yeah, call her Ironheart, and that was a big part. And it's obviously going to lead into the Ironheart TV series on Disney Plus.
Do we know when that's coming?
I believe it's sometime next year.
Going to be a lot of stuff next year.
Yeah. She, I think. I mean, there's Ironheart, and then there's Armor Wars that are going to be taking place later on, and almost certainly she's going to become a part of it. So, all that happening, and my next point was M'Baku, I told you he stepped up into the role, and at one point in the movie, you guys know the part where I thought he was about to pull off a classic Rufio. And Rufio, if you don't know, is a term that I coined, where the number 2 or even lesser ranked good guy in the movie tries to take on the number 1 bad guy and gets himself killed.
He never wins that fight.
And he fulfilled every part of that cliche except the dying part.
The story Rufio comes from where the character Rufio in Peter Pan
in Hook
goes after Hook.
Yeah.
Didn't win.
And no one ever talks about Rufio versus Hook. People talk about Peter Pan versus Hook.
There's a reason they don't talk about Rufio versus Hook.
Should have known that going in. But anyways, so in the scene, you saw, M'Baku, he thinks he's getting the drop on Namor, and he's got his big club, and he's like, and ends up doing nothing.
Hope he's got a spare club.
And the way they did that scene with the slow motion punch in the chest, I mean, I thought for sure that was a death blow.
Oh, it looked like it.
Yeah, I mean, if he didn't, I think he had vibranium armor on, so if he didn't have that, he'd have been in trouble. Another thing was, we talk about how they always give away too much in teaser trailers or in trailers. I actually left a comment on Facebook about that, like just before we started filming, and I know you didn't watch the trailer, but there was a scene where after, spoilers. After Shuri takes the Wakandan super soldier serum, and she becomes Black Panther, and she does the superhero landing drop in front of M'Baku's throne. They actually show that in the trailer, and you don't know that it's Shuri in the trailer, but everyone assumes so. And I remember someone saying, I think it may have been Feige, he said something like, no one has yet guessed who the new Black Panther is going to be. And I'm like, I think everybody guessed that.
Yeah,
because
I just assumed that.
I mean, Shuri was just the logical choice.
Who else?
I mean, I guess you could have had the Queen taken the...
The only other possibility would have been Black Panther's girlfriend.
Yeah, I mean, her too. I mean, I guess M'Baku could have taken it. I mean, they offered it to him in the first movie.
Thick Black Panther.
Right. But, I'm pretty sure everybody guessed that. And I know they have to they have to lie to people going into a movie to, subvert expectations. Just like when everybody was almost certain that Andrew Garfield was going to be in No Way Home, and Andrew, like every time anybody asked him, he's like, "I'm not in Spider-Man. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm not the wolf. I'm not the werewolf." Okay, so a lot of heart in this, and one thing they did a good job of doing was to make this feel not so much like a overreaching Marvel movie, but more like a self-contained Wakanda story.
Well, yeah, I mean, they didn't bring very few outside influences into the movie.
Yeah, I think Julie Louis-Dreyfus's character was the only really outside influence in this entire movie. I mean, we hadn't seen Ironheart before now, so...
I mean, let's face it, Wakanda's got allies, and I'm not talking other nations, I'm talking heroes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't tell me that if he knew that Winter Soldier wouldn't have showed up to help.
Right.
I mean, he was so popular in Wakanda that he got a cool name.
Yeah.
The White Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
But
they didn't want this to be a Bucky story with...
I didn't want him to be there. I'm just saying, in reality, he probably would have.
Right. So, good on them for, making this about Wakanda and about the Black Panther mantle in this film. So, like we said, a lot of heart and a lot of emotion went into this movie, and it's already breaking records.
Yeah,
last I checked,
best November release ever.
Right, and it's given the box office an adrenaline shot that it desperately needs. So, good on them for this one.
But in my opinion, the most important thing is it is a honorable send-off to Chadwick.
Absolutely. All right, so Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, in theaters now, and the old man and I are giving it 3.5 popcorns out of 4.
And remember, never given more than 1 4 in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't given one this year.
Right.
And it was close,
mm-hmm.
but not quite a 4.
And I should point out that, we grade every movie that we see in theaters. We don't always talk about it on the show because we try to keep it to comic book superhero stuff. So you guys, you get our big scores usually.
2 or 3 movies a year that you hear from.
But I mean, we just so you know, we do grade some stinkers every now and then. We just don't talk about them. So don't think we're too generous because we give Wakanda Forever and we gave Black Adam. We're giving them all these 3 and 3.5 scores. It's just obviously we think superheroes are pretty high quality usually.
Well, I mean, we're somewhat prejudiced about the superhero movies.
Right. Okay, so that is our Wakanda Forever review. Now, let's talk about what's going on in entertainment news. There's a lot of stuff to cover here. All right, first up on entertainment news, a little bit of a somber note here. The old man and I would like to express our condolences to the friends and family of Kevin Conroy. Conroy passed away last week after a short battle with cancer. Now, as most people know, Kevin Conroy lent his gravelly voice to the portrayal of Batman, starting in 1992 with Batman the Animated Series. And he did a lot of other work in his career as well, mostly voice work, not just Batman, but a lot of other stuff.
Wait a minute, you're saying the animated series was 30 years ago?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
man.
Yeah, there's a little reality check there for you. But as Batman, he wouldn't just stop at the animated series. He would also play the part of Batman in several other animated shows, and as well as dozens of movies and video games, most notably the Batman Arkham video game series.
So he basically made a career out of the Batman.
Absolutely. Kevin would also have the chance of playing a version of Bruce Wayne in live action during the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths. He didn't actually get to put the suit on live action, which I was a little disappointed about, obviously.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame.
Right. I mean, that's an ongoing theme with a lot of live action shows where you have a guy playing Bruce Wayne show up, but he never actually puts on the bat suit. It's very frustrating, especially...
Look at Tom Welling in Smallville.
Yeah. I mean, especially now with, having Kevin Conroy being gone, never seeing actually put on the suit. But, he did that. Mark Hamill said in a statement, "Kevin was perfection. He was one of my favorite people on the planet, and I loved him like a brother. He truly cared for the people around him. His decency shone through everything he did. Every time I saw him or spoke with him, my spirits were elevated." So, word from Mark Hamill. And I actually got a chance to meet him, obviously, some years ago. I think it was 2017. I was at a convention, and he was signing the autograph, and I said, "Kelly, I gotta be honest with you. I mean, this is like meeting a piece of my childhood right now." And I'm sure he got that a lot. And he smiled and says, "Well, I'm happy I could do that for you today, sir." So he was a great guy to meet at shows, and I've seen interviews and panels with him on it, and he was always a very lively guy.
I remember when we were at the convention, and you left me in line to go get your picture and autograph with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen you get a lot of autographs. You have a pretty decent collection of autographed pictures and pictures of yourself with some of these people.
Mm-hmm.
That might be one of the most excited I've seen you.
Yeah, I mean,
to get somebody's autograph and picture.
I mean, to have a memory of a person going back that far to when I was 8 years old. I mean, it definitely sticks with you. So I'd say he was a pretty important one to meet. So our warmest send-off to Conroy, and sympathies to his friends and family, especially to his husband. And I hope they know how much Kevin meant to everyone around him and to so many people. All right, so now on to our next story. Some news that is coming down from Marvel Studios. And reports are coming in that the company has reached a deal with Tom Holland and has signed a 6-project deal with the actor. Now, I thought I heard Holland say that he may be done with Spider-Man in the near future, and that he doesn't want to be playing Spider-Man into his 30s. Well, seems like maybe he's rethought the idea.
Well, money talks.
Right.
And I'm sure they threw the right price at him. Okay.
And, I mean, of course, behind the scenes footage, that it can be deceiving sometimes, but he always looks like he's having a good time whenever he's...
I've never met the man, but I've always gotten the impression that pretty much anywhere he's working, he's going to do his best to at least make sure that he and the people around him enjoy themselves.
Right. And it's not like he hasn't been busy in between Spider-Man projects. I mean,
no, he's had several movies. We've seen several of his
right.
movies.
I mean, he stays busy, and hopefully, he's not being typecast as Spider-Man type characters. I mean, he does a lot of other stuff.
What was the treasure hunting movie?
Uncharted.
Uncharted. That was basically Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I mean,
kinda.
if you look at the scene where all the stuff was coming off the airplane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I can't do that. Can you do that?
I mean, he definitely has parkour experience, which made him the ideal Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So this new deal with Marvel would include a new Spider-Man trilogy, 4, 5, and 6. Plus, Holland's Spider-Man would be appearing in Disney Plus's Daredevil Born Again, and in the upcoming Avengers Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars films. So, if I said 6 picture earlier, I meant a 6-project deal, him being in Daredevil.
Secret Wars, a film or a show?
That'll be a film. Secret Invasion is what the show is going to be called.
See, I get all confused with that.
Right, Secret Invasion, leading into Secret Wars, the film. All right, now, while that is believed to be happening with Holland right now, as of right now, there's no word on whether Zendaya and Jacob Batalon will be joining Holland on these projects. Which, with the way we left their characters last time we saw them, we don't know, when they're going to be reuniting or if they're going to be reuniting.
I mean, that was an incredible movie.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, it left a bad taste in my mouth when it was over.
Yeah, left it on a sad note. But I'm hoping, that's just temporary, and we get these kids back together in the near future.
Maybe they'll do a Dallas, and it was just a dream.
I mean that would tick me off. Yeah.
EMoney don't like Dallas.
Well, it's like I wasted all the time that I spent watching that thing. It's like, why did I invest my emotion into this if it all, none of it mattered after that?
Didn't the Sparkly Vampire movies, didn't they do a Dallas at the end?
I mean, they did a Dallas, that whole battle sequence, which was really cool looking. I mean, for a Twilight movie to have, that action scene, the guys who, begrudgingly went to the theater with their girlfriends to see it, and they're like, this movie just got good. And then all of a sudden you find out that it was all a dream and it didn't matter. And like, oh.
Dallas.
Yeah. All right.
Oh,
So
well.
hopefully that doesn't happen. All right. Now on to our next story. Next up we have last week the BBC entered into an unprecedented deal with Disney concerning the future of Doctor Who.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now there's a lot of stuff to cover here, kids, so buckle up.
Time out. If you're not a Doctor Who fan and you don't give a flying you-know-what about Doctor Who, come back in about 3 or 4 hours. Because he's going to get long-winded because he is an uber, what do you call him, a Whovian?
Whovian.
He's a Whovian.
Well, I implore you to start giving a damn about Doctor Who and, pick up the 2005 series and, give it a shot.
And I exaggerated on the amount of time, but
right.
He's going to get long-winded, I promise you.
All right, so let's get into it. So this new deal with Disney, distribution in Great Britain will remain on BBC.
As it should.
Right, but with international distribution, like the good old US of A, would be done on Disney+.
Now, does that mean we're going to see the Doctor Who shows the same time that they see it in England?
I mean, there might be a few hours delay, but essentially, yes.
Same few days.
Right, exactly.
Huh.
So, with 150 million subscribers worldwide for Disney+, the new reach for Doctor Who would be unlike anything it's ever seen before. Now, production of the show will remain at Bad Wolf Productions in Wales. And, where it always has, and so it won't be moving into any Disney studio. So the people behind the scenes at Doctor Who have been, bringing you the Doctor Who magic since 2005, their jobs are secure. So, bully for them. All right, so the next thing is creative control will remain with BBC. Asterisk.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. But with Disney having a bit of creative input. Now, in the press release, it says that Doctor Who will be made under a shared vision with Disney. And you know what? To anyone objecting, I would say that's fair. I mean, when you're entering into a deal like this with BBC and Doctor Who, I feel like you should at least have a seat at the table in regards to creativity for the show.
Well, I'm all right with them having a seat at the table. That's fine. I mean, you put your money out, you should get something for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just concerned. I mean, Doctor Who ain't broke. So don't try to get all touchy-feely on it and mess things up.
Right. Well, and that brings me to my next point. People are, when they heard about this deal, a lot of people were worried about Disney-fying Doctor Who. And I don't really think that's a thing. It's something that people have been afraid of for a long time, but it never really happens, in my opinion, because people were really worried about Star Wars being Disney-fied when they got the rights to it. And you know what? Obviously, we have more Star Wars content than we did before, and
a lot more.
Right? And the case by case quality of each project, that's up for debate. But as far as them, Disney-fying it, I mean, I have not seen very few Ewoks since Disney took over.
Thank God.
Right. So as far as it making kid-friendly and it's going to be isolating for the older audiences, I don't think that happened because the animated shows, for example, I mean, yeah, kids can watch them, but as far as them being really kid-friendly, I mean, we just saw Tales of the Jedi, spoiler alert. I mean, we just saw in the final episode, Ahsoka dispatch one of the Inquisitors in, fairly violent fashion in that episode.
Well, I think the test is going to be in Marvel. Okay. So far, Disney and Marvel Studios, thumbs up.
Right.
But they haven't tackled Deadpool.
That's true. And
what is Disney going to do with Deadpool 3?
I mean, last I heard, they're giving it an R rating. So hopefully, it sticks with that, and we'll see what happens.
Well, if they do Deadpool as a PG-13 movie, that's. I'm
No.
not a big Deadpool fan anyway.
Mm.
That's really going to hurt what enjoyment I get out of those movies.
Right. So Disney fine, I'm not overly worried about. Now the next thing, and this is really big, is the budget per episode of Doctor Who may triple under Disney's new deal.
I mean, for the most part, I thought they did good with the money they were spending.
Right.
I thought Doctor Who always looked pretty good.
Mm-hmm. But there were some episodes where it's like I could kind of feel the budget restraints, because a lot of episodes, like you see them, they're spending most of the time in a town somewhere in England rather than on an alien ship or something that had to be built.
Well, I liked it when they went to small towns.
I mean,
it was enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, some of them were okay, but it seemed like they had some restraints on that. So then you have this being especially exciting, knowing that the original showrunner, Russell T. Davies, is returning for this new era. So you think about what Russell was able to do with so little, like back in 2005 when the show started.
I say the same thing about comic books. It's all about the story.
Mm-hmm. So, think about what he can do today with this new budget. I mean, that makes it especially exciting for the show. Now, for all you Whovians who have been with them from the start, I think we came in when it was in its third season.
Well, we caught up real quick.
Right.
When you say third season
of the new show, the revival show,
there's old '60s stuff,
mm-hmm.
which I know you've gone back and watched.
I've watched a lot of it. Yeah.
I think it's horrible. I don't see how the show survived.
Mm-hmm.
Concept is what did it.
Right.
So in 2005. They hired Eccleston to play the Doctor,
mm-hmm.
and yeah, he was a little silly, but he got the job done,
mm-hmm.
and I was sold.
Right.
I mean, and I recommend everybody who's not a Doctor Who fan, if you want to give it a shot, go find the original Eccleston series, the first year of the relaunch, 2005. And then, if you can make it 3 seasons, which is 1 with Eccleston and 2
with Tennant,
with David Tennant,
mm-hmm.
who Marvel fans, he played the Purple Man
he played the Purple Man in Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones, which is there's no way anybody could do the Purple Man better. He's a hell of an actor.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just get past those 3 seasons, Eccleston, because it's a setup. Tennant, it takes a couple seasons to get into the flow of the new Doctor. You'll be hooked.
Right. I mean, don't make it sound like it's a burden to get through the 3 seasons.
No,
but yeah.
If you're struggling, stick it out.
I would say make it to the Empty Child episode, which I think is easily Eccleston's best episode. So if after watching that, you don't think that you're into it, then I might recommend giving up, because you're not going to be into it after that. But the quality, like as far as like cinematography and special effects, I mean, it does get better as each season goes. Just as technology improved from 2005 on, so did the quality of that stuff in the show. All right, so lost my place. Okay, so. For those of you who have been with the show since 2005, I mean, we have Russell back. We have Tennant back at the moment.
That's a big spoiler. You just blew it for somebody.
Sorry, spoiler alert.
Too late.
We have Tennant back at the moment. I don't know how long he's going to be sticking around for.
I'm guessing since they've already cast the next Doctor, that Tennant won't be around long.
I'm hoping he sticks around until... there's going to be a couple of specials next year. I'm hoping he sticks around until the 60th anniversary special, which is in November next year, and we see him transition into the new Doctor after that. So hopefully we get Tenet for a little bit at least.
And for anybody who decides to go back and grind through all those seasons, do your research, because there's specials between a lot of the seasons, like Christmas specials.
If you watch it on HBO Max, I think they do a pretty good job of keeping everything in order.
Yeah.
All right. So if they could get Stephen Moffat to come back and write a few episodes under Russell's, being showrunner, it would be just like the glory days. Because Moffat, despite being the showrunner from the Matt Smith to Peter Capaldi era, he was on the staff when Russell was in charge, and he actually wrote some of the best episodes for the show, including The Empty Child and the Blink episode.
Blink is just... I never thought I would watch a Doctor Who episode and actually be scared.
Right. I remember years ago, my cousin from Texas, he actually wanted to... somehow he heard about Doctor Who. I don't remember what.
Probably from you.
Probably. Like maybe he saw the TARDIS or something, and he's like, what's all that about? And so I start to explain stuff to him, and he's like, I want to watch Doctor Who. And he's like, okay, so, I think that the Blink is a good episode to start on for some people.
Oh.
So I show him the Blink episode. Well, I didn't appreciate how scary this particular episode can be to younger viewers.
And how old was he at this time?
I don't remember exactly.
He was young.
I mean...
he was still a kid.
Blink came out in like 2007 or 2008, so it had been a while since then, so he might have been like 12, give or take.
You traumatized that boy.
So, he covered his eyes for a few scenes.
And did your Aunt Jan find out about this?
Not that I know of.
Because you're still alive.
Right. So, parents beware if you're showing your kids Doctor Who.
For the most part, Doctor Who is kid-friendly.
Mm-hmm.
But the Blink episode, I'm not sure it's adult-friendly. It was scary.
Right, I mean, watching Doctor Who starting off as an adult, I didn't appreciate, what it can do to kids. So, my bad on that one. All right, so we got all those people back on the show. That's exciting. Another thing is that Disney has said that spin-offs are a big part of Disney's plans for the show.
And there's already been a couple of spin-offs.
Right. I mean, Russell even said before he came back as showrunner that he'd love for Doctor Who to be like a Marvel-style shared universe, which, he did at one point. I call that the Doctor Who at its peak, when you had, David Tennant was the Doctor, and you had Torchwood spin-off, and then you had the Sarah Jane Adventures on. And
now, there's a comic book out there that's Doctor Who and Star Trek, right?
Right, yeah, there's a crossover comic book of that.
Disney don't own Star Trek. But they do own Spider-Man. Doctor Who and Spider-Man?
Okay, so okay. I mean, I don't know where ownership of the comic books is right now. I want to say Boom Studios has that right now. But anyways, so if you're talking about seeing Spider-Man and Doctor Who in a live action setting,
woo!
Okay, reach for the stars. Yeah, that's out there.
How about Doctor Who and Doctor Strange?
Okay. I mean, about the same level of optimism.
Well, Doctor Who and Captain America just don't work. They just don't work.
Okay, so which spin-offs are we talking about here besides the Spider-Man spin-off?
Besides the crazy ain't gonna happen stuff.
Right. Well, they spoiler alert again. They heavily teased a Unit spin-off at the end of Jodie Whittaker's final episode, The Power of the Doctor.
Unit is the military branch of the British government.
Well, it's not just British. It's Unified Intelligence Task Force. In the original series,
they fight aliens.
In the original series, it was actually called the United Nations Intelligence Task Force. But when the show did the revival in 2005, the actual United Nations decided that they didn't want to be associated with the show anymore, so they renamed it Unified Intelligence Task Force. So
just think military guys with high-tech weapons.
Right. But sometimes not high-tech enough.
Usually not.
But aliens is their specialty, what they do as part of a branch of the military.
Have they ever tackled supernatural stuff?
Well, I'm not sure. Like, supernatural doesn't really exist in Doctor Who. Anything that presents as supernatural...
It's some sort of alien.
Yeah, some sort of alien phenomenon. Okay, so with the unit spinoff, it was teased that Kate Stewart, the head of unit, the Brigadier's daughter, and former companions Ace and Tegan might possibly head up that show.
They were badass.
Right, and might even throw in some occasional appearances by former doctors or former companions like Joe Grant and Ian Chesterton and a few other people.
They were in that show.
The support group that they had at the end of the episode.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Right. Another spinoff that was heavily teased recently was during the Flux story arc, where some interesting new characters like Vendor and Carvanesta, not sure if I pronounced that right, but he was the dog-like soldier creature.
Oh, he reminded me of me.
Okay.
He was kind of grumpy.
So I thought all those characters had some interesting potential. It was also teased that grandfather-grandson duo Graham and Ryan were going to go off and have their own adventures.
I mean, Graham definitely reminded me of me because he's an old guy.
Guy that age running around with the kids and the doctor having all those adventures.
Don't discount old people.
Right. So, they were given some, spiffy psychic papers from the doctor before they left. So, it seemed like they were going to, go do their own thing. So one spinoff that I would really like to see, and I have no reports to back this up. This is just wishful thinking, although my wishful thinking and your wishful thinking of spinoffs is slightly more realistic. What I would like to see is a prequel series, Doctor Who: The Eighth Doctor Adventures.
Who was the Eighth Doctor?
The Eighth Doctor was Paul McGann, and this is what a lot of people refer to as the Bridge Doctor, because the show ended in 1989 with Sylvester McCoy, and then Eccleston was the Doctor in the revival in 2005. In between the two shows, you have Paul McGann as the Eighth Doctor, because what happened was Fox had acquired the rights to Doctor Who at that time, and they produced a 90-minute TV movie, Doctor Who, and the plan was, if the show were successful, that they were going to greenlight a whole new season of Doctor Who under Fox. Well, I guess the movie pilot, you would call it, it didn't do well. The ratings were bad. You know what it gotten beaten out for in the ratings? It was beaten out by Roseanne. So all of the revival, 2005 revival for the show and everything that you've enjoyed since then, you might owe that to Roseanne. Because if it had done well, we would have seen a whole new version of Doctor Who under Fox. And would it have been as good? Maybe not. So, Paul McGann, he had that one movie pilot, and then we've seen like a few minor appearances of him throughout the years. During the 50th anniversary special, there was a 10 to 15 minute short that he did where we see how his Doctor regenerated. And then he made a short appearance in the last episode, The Power of the Doctor, where the Doctor sees all of her past selves and incarnations giving her a pep talk.
All right, hang on. Real quick explanation to somebody who doesn't know anything about Doctor Who. Anytime a doctor dies, he regenerates, which really means, in the real world, they got a new actor to play Doctor Who, and that's how they explain the new guy.
Right. I mean, the whole reason that the introduction of regeneration concept happened was the first Doctor, William Hartnell, his health problems had gotten so bad that the studio couldn't work with him anymore because, they were doing entire episodes where the Doctor became incapacitated somehow, and you were following the companions around for the whole show.
What's that documentary type show where...
An Adventure in Time and Space.
Okay, watch that first.
Right.
Because it explains all the old Doctor Who, and it was a very interesting... It's not actually a documentary. It's
it was a movie.
Style.
Yeah.
Biopic,
I guess you would call it.
Yeah, watch that, then jump on board 2005.
Right. So the whole reason that happened was because of his health concerns, and now it's become this whole thing throughout Doctor Who history. So, Paul McGann, he didn't get a chance to really spread his wings as the Doctor, so I would love for him to come back. I mean, I think he still looks good for the Doctor.
Yeah, he's good.
And, would love to see it happen. And I don't know if he's too busy. I mean, he probably does a lot of British projects that I don't see. But hopefully his schedule would be clear to do it. So all in all, we're very excited about this new era of Doctor Who, what with the Disney deal and Russell coming back, Tennant being back on for however long a time.
Okay, EMoney said they're very excited. He said, we're very excited. I am looking forward to it. He's excited. He's like giddy.
And also, when the new Doctor comes on, Ncuti Gatwa, whenever he decides to join us, Ncuti Gatwa.
What?
Ncuti Gatwa.
What's that?
That's if Tennant is the 14th Doctor, then Ncuti Gatwa is the 15th Doctor.
Ncuti.
Ncuti Gatwa.
Is that a guy or a girl?
That's a guy.
Ncuti.
Ncuti Gatwa.
You sure?
Yeah. He was born in Rwanda.
So we've had a female Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be the first.
He will be the first African Doctor Who.
And we're not talking African American here. We're talking he's African.
No, he's never, to my knowledge, he has never been African American.
Well, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's absolutely cool.
And they better not just have him show up and be black.
No.
There better be some conversation about it. Like,
Right.
what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
There better be something. Every time the Doctor regenerates, you get that learning curve where he's clumsy and he's a little fuzzy about what's going on.
Right.
Which I enjoy that just like I just enjoy the discovery phase of a superhero getting powers and they learn what they can do. Mm-hmm. I like that.
Same thing with it when a new companion comes on board.
Oh, the companions are one of the best reasons to watch the show.
All right. So he's going to be coming on sometime in 2023. Don't know exactly when. So also excited about that. If you're curious, Ncuti Gatwa. If you're curious about him, I'm told that he was on a show called Sex Education, which is his biggest part to date. But obviously, being the new Doctor is going to overshadow that soon.
Yeah, he just joined an elite club.
Mm-hmm. So we're really excited about everything. I'm excited. He's interested, I guess.
I'm pleasantly interested.
Okay.
Looking forward to it.
Right. All right. So with all that being said, that covers entertainment news. Now
what was that? 3-4 hours? How long did we talk about
might have
Doctor
been.
Who?
Huh?
How long did we just talk about Doctor Who?
It could have been a while. There was a lot of stuff to cover. It was a big deal.
Thankfully, these guys have got fast forward buttons on their stuff.
All right. Now let's move on to our comic book reviews.
On what?
Comic book reviews.
Oh, we do comic book reviews on this show.
Yeah, we do that.
Wow. All right, let's go.
All right, so first up we have our mentions for this week, and we got a little bit of a mixed bag this week.
All right, first up, a book that I think is now on, according to Comic Book Realm, Volume 7 of the Fantastic Four. It's like every time they get bored, they just start a new story or a new comic. And I picked the Alex Ross variant because Alex Ross is one bad mamma jamma. So, number 1.
All right, so in Fantastic Four, number 1, kind of an odd choice because in this issue we have a standalone Ben Grimm and Alicia Masters story. So,
nothing wrong with that?
No, just seemed kind of odd for the first issue. All right, so what happened was the two of them are on vacation or on their honeymoon.
I don't know.
And they show up to this small town, and they check into a hotel, and they wake up the next morning, and it's like no one remembers who they are.
You think you would remember Ben Grimm?
Yeah, and he talks to the hotel manager, and he's like, okay. Don't remember what he said exactly, but like, what do you mean you didn't check us into our room? You gave me the key. And he's like, well, if you stayed here, then that'll be $3 for the night. Notice I said $3 for the night. That's another important thing. And so the two of them look at each other and they're like, quarters okay? So then they find out that everything around them looks really old-timey. And so they start checking around, and everyone around town is saying it's 1947. So they find out that they're in a Groundhog Day type situation here.
I love me some Groundhog Day stories.
All right. And, one thing about, money, it's like, I'm pretty sure that the quarters that Alicia has in her purse is probably not pre-1947.
Doubt it very much.
And they probably don't look like they did in 1947, even if you don't look at the year.
They do not.
I mean, if you look in your spare change and you pull out a couple quarters, you might find a couple of quarters that still look like they did back then.
I doubt it.
But most of them are new looking. So that doesn't really work if all of you aspiring time travelers out there. So it's a really interesting comic book, and still a little strange doing just Ben Grimm for number 1, but still, it was a fun time. So Fantastic Four number 1 ends up with
4 Shields after we rounded it up.
4 Shields rounded up.
Next up.
Yep.
All right, we don't do a lot of X books. I usually get the number 1 issue just to keep in touch with the X-Men.
Okay.
But this one looked interesting because it's Sabretooth and the Exiles. This is a group of people that were punished and thrown in something, what was it, the pit?
Some kind of pit, yeah.
Yeah, and they got out.
Okay, so in Sabretooth and the X-Files, like we said, we don't read a lot of X-Men books because, my opinion, the X-Men just aren't all that interesting nowadays. It's a lot of, political crap. So, Sabretooth finds himself, if he were real, he would kill me for saying this, but at the mercy of a scientist who is experimenting on mutants.
She's nasty.
Yeah, and you'd have to really be a truly despicable person in order for me to, root for Sabretooth against you. Well, such is the case with this doctor here. And she's doing all these horrible things to mutants, and she attempts to set some sort of weird experiment loose on the mutants down on the island. And she even says, she tells her creation that down there are mutants, the natural enemy of every rational human being. So I ended up enjoying this issue a lot more than I thought I would because, like I said, X-Men is not doing a whole lot for me nowadays.
We'll probably get number 2.
We'll probably get it, yeah. So Sabretooth and the Exiles number 1 ends up with...
that one rounded up to 3.5 shields.
3.5 out of 5.
All right, next up, one of EMoney's favorite TV shows of all time.
That's your favorite too.
I just get sad because they canceled it. But at any rate, Firefly, Keep Flying, number 1 now. Number 1, I think it's a one-shot. I don't think there's going to be a number 2.
Well, this was supposed to be a part of the 20th anniversary of Firefly. So, what happens in here is it's kind of a fast forward because River is the pilot of the Serenity, and I almost said Nathan, but Malcolm is walking around like an old man with a beard, and we see all these things that are happening inside of River's mindscape, I guess you would call it, and things are just looking weird, and also the artwork is kind of shabby as far as I'm concerned. So
I thought it was confusing.
Yeah, it was very confusing, and it's like we're going from one place to the other without any transition or explanation. So for me, not a really strong entry for a 20th anniversary special, and I didn't quite want to give it the recycling paper of the week status because I only reserve that for like the worst of the worst, but it's not good in my ever so humble opinion, and was disappointed. So, and they still have not found an artist who can do the likeness of each character right. So Firefly, Keep Flying, number 1, ends up with
2.5.
2.5 shields out of 5.
Yep, not good.
All right, so that is our mentions for this week. Now on to our top 3.
All right. top 3. Number 3, DC's miniseries. This is number 6 out of 7. Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Okay, so this issue is a very heavy action issue because there's fighting going on almost nonstop here. It starts off where the heroes are fighting outside the Hall of Justice to a army of villains that Deathstroke has brought together because he thinks that the heroes are weak now. What with the core members of the Justice League supposedly dying in the first issue in this series. So this big fight breaks out. And I don't want to spoil too much for you guys, but know that there's a lot of throwbacks in this. And also, towards the end, there's a really, really nice splash page that is just, beautiful artwork here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big spoiler, too.
Right. So, don't want to spoil it for you, but it's definitely something to check out. So, Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, number 6 of 7, ends up with our number 3 spot at 4 shields out of 5.
All right, next up. I've really been enjoying the new Spider-Man books, Amazing and this one, Spider-Man. This is number 2.
Okay. So in this Spider-Man, we see if you if you read the Spider-Verse, Spider-Geddon storyline, what happened in that one was there are these ancient beings who have been around for dawn of time, whatever, and they live in, I think it's the Great Web or the Web of Time or something like that.
Some kind of web.
And they actually feast on spider people. People like, Peter Parker and Miles Morales and Gwen and all those other people that you've come to know. But
they need to take a bite out of Spider-Ham.
Okay. Well, there's this whole Spider-Verse out there. You saw, if you saw Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, you know what I'm talking about.
They're getting ready to do another movie?
Yeah, they're doing a sequel. So there's all these different spider people out there. So him and his family have been feasting on these spider people for millennia, dawn of time, whatever. So what happened was that some new enemy, some new threat has come and attacked his family. And this guy, I think his name is Mordu, something like that. So Moreland, that's it. Moreland has been attacked and he survived, and now he is seeking help from the spider people, and he needs their help because their survival is at stake just as much as his is.
Well, I don't think I could trust him.
Probably not. So one thing is interesting about this is that in the first few pages we see the introduction of the Tom Holland version of Spider-Man, the MCU Spider-Man. And I don't know if you've ever seen him show up in comic books, but it's very obvious that it's him. So speculators out there, if you want to see that and you want to grab an issue, you should do that now. So throughout the issue, we were introduced to all of these spider people. One thing that I found interesting was there's a spider person who uses her usual spider powers, but also mixes it with magic. And I can find the page here somewhere. So when she's talking to our Peter Parker, after she creates a shield for him, he says, "Not bad. Does Doctor Strange know you're stealing his bit?" And she says, "Please, spider magic came first. Why do you think the doc makes all those web finger poses?" And Peter's like, "You just blew my mind."
Well, blew mine too, because I was talking a long time ago about Steve Ditko, who drew the original Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. Well, Spider-Man does this.
Yeah.
When Doctor Strange is casting a spell, he does this.
Yeah. Somehow Ditko was a fan of this pose somehow.
Yep.
So there's that joke. That was fun.
Yep. I got a kick out of that.
Right. So interesting story. Anxious to see where it goes. And I assume this is a limited series, but I don't know.
I don't think so.
No? Okay. Well, eager to see where the story goes. So, Spider-Man number 2, our number 2 pick for this week, with 4 shields out of 5.
Just check something real quick. And I can never find the fine print when I want to. Well, it doesn't say what volume it is, so there is a chance you could be right.
I think it's volume 3, because you've got the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man series, and then I think they did a Spider-Man series with Miles Morales years ago. So I think this is volume 3.
I think there's more than that, but doesn't matter. Anyway, next up, the old man loves him some Justice Society.
Mm-hmm.
Justice Society. I bought all the old comic books. I've got a lot of them in trade paperback form. I like it because, well, let's face it, the Justice League gets a lot of play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Trinity, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, kind of gets to a point where it's boring. So, give me Our Man, Dr. Midnight, the Sandman, not the Marvel,
Not the Neil Gaiman version.
not that guy, but the guy who wears the gas mask and has a sleep gun.
Mm-hmm.
Give me those guys. I don't know as much about them, so anytime I read anything, it's kind of new. As far as TV and movies, you saw them in Smallville.
Mm-hmm.
Stargirl has some of the Justice Society in it.
And you saw a different version in Legends of Tomorrow for a few episodes.
Right, and most recently, the Black Adam movie, which that's where I went to see the movie. Was, I love me some Dwayne Johnson, but Dr. Fate, Hawkman, what's the big guy's name?
Atom Smasher.
Atom Smasher, and I don't know anything about Cyclone.
Right.
But at any rate, it was cool. So when I saw this was coming out, I got to get this. This is the new Golden Age. On the front, you see some of the classic Justice Society guys, and here's the kids.
Right. So, in this issue, we're actually introduced to a couple different timelines, and it may be a multiversal thing. I don't know if they made that clear, but they even do a throwback to the classic image of the Justice Society sitting around the table.
The big round table.
Right, and they even show it where the picture is being taken. So this girl is being haunted by what she calls the Stranger, and he's a boogeyman type character, and you keep finding him at different points throughout time, and I'm not really sure what his game is. So we see the Justice Society in the 1940s, and then we catch up with them again in 1976 when they're recruiting new members like Starman and Power Girl. And then we see them in the present day, or at least some version of them in the present day. So there's all over the place. In one version, we see this girl who we don't know a whole lot about. She is at home, and she hears a noise downstairs, and she sees somebody in the kitchen, and she doesn't really think, she just reacts. She grabs a knife and stabs at the guy, and then the lights come on, and it's Batman. So
in her kitchen.
Right. Sorry, folks, technical difficulties. We had to roll the video again.
It was a glitch.
Little glitch. Okay, so like I was saying, Batman is in the kitchen with the gauze on his wound, and he says, "I'm Batman." And, the girl, sees right through him and goes, "Does Mom know?" So that identity has been revealed. So a lot of, interesting plot points introduced in this comic, and, eager to see where it goes. And, the issue or the story will continue in Justice Society of America #1. And
Which we will be reviewing.
Right, absolutely. So the new Golden Age #1 ends up with 4 shields out of 5, our #1 pick for this week. All right, old man, so that is our comics for last week's releases. So what's coming up this week?
All right, another big week coming up this week. You've got Batman One Bad Day.
Okay.
Now, in the past, they've done 3 different members of the Rogues Gallery.
Mm-hmm.
Riddler,
Two-Face.
Two-Face, and the Penguin.
Mm-hmm.
Riddler was probably my favorite. Penguin was second. Two-Face was third.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked all those guys better than I do Mr. Freeze.
Mm.
So I'm concerned about this one.
Well,
better be a heck of a story.
I mean, of all those guys, I would say Mr. Freeze has had the worst day.
Well, he's the most tragic.
Right. I mean, Two-Face is up there too, but I had to give it to Mr. Freeze.
Right. Speaking of the Justice Society, we've got Stargirl, The Lost Children, #1.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the robot guy from Geiger?
Yes, I do.
Junkyard Joe,
Okay.
#2 coming out. Blade Vampire Nation, it's a one-shot.
All right.
They need to treat Blade really well. He needs a good story.
There's a lot of interest in Blade right now.
Right. But the one-shot is continued in one of the Avenger books. You remember in the X-Men when they were trapped with Arcade, I think his name was Arcade, red-headed guy, in Murder World?
I don't think I read that one.
All the machines and stuff. Really good story. I think it was, might have been a John Byrne issue.
Okay.
But at any rate, the Avengers get to go to Murder World.
Oh, they get to go.
Yeah,
Okay.
in Murder World, Avengers #1.
Oh.
Might also be a one-shot. I'm not sure on that one. But
Okay.
you've also got Death Dealer and Thunderbolts and a bunch of good-looking books.
All right. So that's out this week at your local comic book shop. Get them now. All right. So that is comic books for this week. Now let's take a look at what you can expect at this Sunday's Whatnot auction. All right, so this Sunday, November 20th, is our Whatnot toy auction, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to have all kinds of cool toys and action figures for you guys. We've been taking requests from each show that we do, see what people want to do. A lot of times we get questions about, like Ninja Turtles and Masters of the Universe. Sorry, we don't have any of those. But we do have a lot of other cool stuff. So stuff that we're going to be bringing by request, we're going to be bringing our Marvel Legends stuff, some of our Marvel Legends. We're not going to, give them all to you at once. Also, we're going to be bringing more Tortured Souls, which is a action figure line from McFarlane Toys by Clive Barker. So, McFarlane and Clive Barker together, makes for some interesting toys, I guess.
Creepy stuff.
Yeah. So, also, we're going to be bringing a few Transformers and G.I. Joe stuff. So if you're a big fan of Hasbro Toys action figures, you can expect those. Also, we got a request for wrestling stuff. We get wrestling stuff every now and then too, and I always tell people we have 2 action figures or two things for wrestling. So we're going to be bringing our Sting action figure, which we've had up here before. No one's wanted it, but we'll try again. And then we're going to be bringing Spawn stuff. We have a lot of Spawn stuff. Got probably 3 totes at least full of Spawn stuff, so we can divvy that up at a good pace. All right, so we have all that plus our usual Marvel and DC mix of items, so it's gonna be a lot of fun stuff. So Christmas coming up soon, right around the corner. So Whatnot with EMoney the Old Man might be a good place for you to check out. If you're looking for something for yourself or for your kids or that special someone. Imagine buying, Tortured Souls for your special someone.
They better be a freak.
Right? All right, so all that and a lot more. If you're not on Whatnot, I recommend you get on there. So once you download the app, open it up, and you can follow EMoney and the Old Man, which is EMoney and the Old Man, no spaces. Okay, so that's going to about do it for this week's episode. Hope you guys had a good time. Be sure to subscribe and check us out on Whatnot. And also, don't forget, Louisville Con, December 10th. The Old Man and I are going to be there with comics and toys for you guys and a lot of other great dealers in the area in Louisville. And, that's December 10th. So, just 2 weeks before Christmas. So, you guys need to, get your shopping done at Louisville Con, right? All right, we'll see you guys at the next one. Excelsior.
True believers, I think I'm just going to go hibernate.